Hello, my name is Tyler Cook, and this is my project about how the court system in the US works. So, first, I'm going to draw a distinction between original jurisdiction and appellate jurisdiction. These are essentially two different types of rules, where original jurisdiction basically says that if certain requirements are met in a case, then these cases have to go to a specific court, which is completely different from appellate jurisdiction, which is if a decision is made at a lower court, then the decision can be looked over or even overturned at a court that is higher up on the ladder than it is. Now let's talk about trial courts or district courts. So there's 94 of them with over 600 judges, and these are the court cases that you would typically hear about in like movies or whatever, where there's a jury, there's evidence is provided, and then they either rule guilty, not guilty, or liable, not liable, depending if it's a criminal case or whatnot. These are pretty low-level courts, and they decide a vast majority of decisions. And then there's state appeals court, which is if you want to appeal the decision and you have ground to stand on, you go to state appeals court if it's, an issue for, if it happened, in a specific state and you don't have any of the requirements to go to the Supreme Court or the U.S. Court of Appeals. But let's say that you did have grounds to stand on to go to the U.S. Court of Appeals, if it was between two states, or if the issue, it just wouldn't make sense for the issue to be in one specific state, then you go to the Court of Appeals, which there's 12 circuits, each is for a specific region of the U.S., and they basically just, like the state appeals court, they just look for how the decision was made and the processes that went on. They don't see any evidence, and they don't have any jury or anything. It is just specifically looking at the legality of what went on. And with that being said, some of the different circuits have leanings towards one side of the political spectrum or the other, and so this actually leads them to being a little bit biased depending on where you have your what circuit you have your appeal. The highest tier, I guess, of the court system is the U.S. Supreme Court, and this is, we've learned since we were little kids that there's 9 justices, and that they make a lot of the big decisions and the hallmark decisions in the textbooks or whatever. But generally they are not making decisions all together. Usually their decisions are separate per judge, and they basically review the majority of them by themselves. But if there's a big hallmark decision, then it will be brought up in the actual court of the Supreme Courts, and the justices will decide on it. If it's an issue regarding free speech or freedom of religion, freedom of the press, all this different stuff, constitution breaking breakthroughs in law, then they will all go together and make the decision. And of course, sometimes the U.S. Supreme Court has original jurisdiction if it's an issue regarding ambassadors, or just a lot of different issues that wouldn't make sense to be in a specific circuit or state or whatever. And now finally, in all of these court cases, they have to have due process, which is essentially just fairness in government proceedings, and they have to have everyone has equal protection, so that just because they favor one person, they can't illegally do something to the person to make them lose the case, or treat someone differently just because there's a bias. they have to have all equal protections under the law, no matter who it is. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was how the court systems work.